The maintenance corridors of Orbital Station Kepler-7 were always cold at night cycle. Marlin pushed his cleaning cart through the dimmed hallways, the wheels squeaking against the metal floor. His worn jumpsuit bore the faded logo of Transgalactic Facilities Management, and his hands were rough from years of scrubbing, fixing, and keeping the massive station running while everyone else slept. He was halfway through his shift when he heard a soft whimpering sound coming from behind a stack of cargo containers near the waste reclamation unit. Marlin paused, his hand instinctively reaching for the wrench on his belt. The station had strict protocols about unauthorized beings in restricted areas, but something about that sound made him hesitate. It wasn't threatening. It was scared. "Hello," he called softly, stepping around the containers. What he found made him freeze. Curled up between two crates was a small creature, no bigger than a house cat. She had iridescent scales that shimmered even in the low light, delicate membranous wings folded against her back, and large luminescent eyes that stared up at him with a mixture of fear and hope. A draconid juvenile, one of the rarest species in the known galaxy. "Oh, kid," Marlin whispered, crouching down slowly. "What are you doing here?" The little dragon shrank back, her scales flickering between blue and grey, a distress pattern. If Marlin remembered correctly from the cultural sensitivity training he'd barely stayed awake through. "It's okay," he said gently. "I'm not gonna hurt you." The draconid's stomach made a sound like grinding gears, and Marlin's heart clenched. He'd heard that sound before from his own belly, back when he was working 3 jobs to keep his daughter fed before the accident. Before it was just him. "You're hungry, aren't you?" The little dragon nodded slowly, and then, in a voice like wind chimes, she spoke. "Sir, I can't eat." Her translator collar flickered weakly. "My clutch-mother... gone. Station took our credits. The food dispensers. They won't give me anything. Everything here is human food." Marlin sat down fully on the cold floor, his mind racing. Draconids had complex dietary needs, crystalline minerals, ionized liquids, things that human food dispensers simply didn't provide. And this little one was stranded, probably orphaned, definitely alone. He looked down at his lunch bag, the one pleasure he allowed himself during these long night shifts. Inside was a slice of pepperoni pizza from Giovanni's, the only real pizza place left on the station. He'd been looking forward to it all shift. The little dragon's eyes followed his movement as he pulled out the container. Her scales shifted to a dull green resignation, maybe, or acceptance of her fate. Marlin looked at the pizza, then at the small, trembling creature, then back at the pizza. "Listen, kid," he said, opening the container. "I know what everyone says, that humans are supposed to follow protocols, that we're supposed to report unauthorized aliens, that we're supposed to mind our own business and let the bureaucrats handle everything." He tore off a piece of pizza, the cheese stretching. The little dragon watched with those enormous eyes. "But here's the thing about humans," Marlin continued, holding out the pizza slice. "We're stupid. Magnificently, gloriously stupid. We look at rules and we look at someone hungry, and we choose the hungry someone every single time." "But sir," the draconid whispered, "I cannot digest your food. It will make me sick." "My biology can't, or won't?" Marlin asked softly. "Because I've seen enough species come through this station to know that can't, and will die if I try, are 2 different things. Am I gonna poison you, or are you gonna be uncomfortable for a bit?" The little dragon's scales flickered. I will be uncomfortable, perhaps sick for a day, but I will not die, then eat. Marlin placed the pizza in front of her, because being sick and alive beats being comfortable and starved. She stared at the offering, then at him. Why, I am nothing to you. Your species gains nothing from this violation of protocol. Marlin smiled, a sad, tired smile that had seen too many night shifts and too many losses. Kid, let me tell you about humans. We've been the underdog for most of our history. We weren't the strongest, or the fastest, or the smartest. We survived because when everything said we should look out for ourselves, we looked out for each other instead. He pushed the pizza closer. We climbed out of our caves and conquered our planet not because we were apex predators, but because we fed the weak until they were strong. We shared our fires, our food, our knowledge. We carried our injured instead of leaving them behind. The Draconid reached out tentatively, her small clawed hand touching the pizza. The galaxy thinks we're soft, Marlin continued. They think compassion is weakness. They see a janitor giving his dinner to a hungry kid, and they think how inefficient, but they don't understand that this he gestured between them. This is why we're still here. This is why we'll always be here. The little dragon took a bite. She made a face clearly. Human pizza was not designed for crystalline-based digestive systems, but she kept eating, and her scales slowly shifted to a warm amber color. Contentment. What's your name, kid? Marlin asked. Julia, she said between careful bites. My clutch mother called me Julia. Pretty name. I'm Marlin. He watched her eat, feeling the familiar ache in his own stomach, but ignoring it. He'd been hungry before. He'd be hungry again. But this little one wouldn't be. Not tonight. Marlin, sir, Julia said softly, what will happen to me? He thought about that. About the bureaucracy, about the orphan processing centers, about the cold efficiency of galactic social services. Then he thought about his tiny apartment, barely big enough for one, and definitely against regulations for two of different species. Well, he said slowly, my shift ends in a few hours, and I've got a couch that's way too big for just me. You know anything about Earth cartoons? Her scales brightened. No, sir. Perfect. You're gonna love them. He stood up, offering his hand. Come on, Julia. Let's get you somewhere warm. As they walked through the quiet corridors, the little Draconid's hand in his. Marlin thought about what the galaxy saw when they looked at humans. They saw a species that was irrational, emotional, inefficient. They saw beings who broke rules for no strategic gain. They didn't see what Marlin knew in his bones, that humanity's greatest strength had never been its weapons or its technology. It was the ability to look at a hungry child, regardless of species, and say, not on my watch. The universe ran on logic, on efficiency, on cold calculation. But humans ran on something older and more powerful. They ran on compassion, and that, Marlin thought as Julia's scales glowed softly in the darkness, was why humanity would outlast them all.